So here's a short answer. I think that distribution centers are going to end up as theme parks for superheroes. Now, on the surface, the idea sounds great. You have like different locations they can go to, and you have players with different missions going there, perhaps conflicting with their mission. However, if you look at the distribution centers, they're built to be easy to copy to different locations without having to design locations that fit a certain climate or a certain moon or planet. And even the interiors seem to be almost identical with some variations in the lower rooms. That means developers probably dropped the ball on making detailed landing zones. They probably dropped the ball on making smaller custom-built locations like Levski. And they probably dropped the ball on having missions that are outside in the game world. We explore a different place, so we don't know what's going to happen. So these are basically theme parks where you know what's going to happen. You go there. It's almost like a holodeck in Star Trek. You go there, you request a scenario, you play it, and you get paid. For example, if you look at the Microtech presentation from 2019, the developers showed off a location that was perfectly fitted into the climate of Microtech. It was this high-tech laboratory with thick glass windows, with airlocks, to protect against the frozen exterior. That never made it into the game. Instead, we got copy-pasted space stations, and now we get copy-pasted ground locations that look almost identical, where they can easily swap out certain details to make it look slightly different. Now, some players might say that's not a bad thing. It's an MMO game. You need to reuse some content. I think that's not the case, because they could make every single distribution center a custom location as detailed as Levski with their own custom art sets. And even if they have custom or repeatable assets, like some airlocks being similar, some wall pieces, they can still make them look highly individual if they wanted to. But they're not doing that. However, they're doing that in Squadron 42. Because if you look at Squadron 42, is that you can look at any footage from Squadron 42 from the last 4 or 5 years, even the leaked videos. I think you won't find a single copy-pasted room that was just copy-pasted and slightly rearranged. Because I think Chris Roberts won't allow it in Squadron 42 for it to be a cheap product. So they have the highest quality standards for absolutely everything in that game. But they don't have these standards in Star Citizen. So for example, in this part of the video, Jared is encouraging players to see if they can get the truck or vehicle into the distribution centers. And the developer says that they have bollards or something to block it. Now the problem here is not that he wants to encourage players to try goofy stuff, but it's seeping into the development of the game. Because do you really want a game where you can get out of a truck, whip out a handheld device, then move the entire truck over a physical object and get back into the truck? Is it really the game world that you want? Because the game should have meme fun content, okay, but it should be boxed in by the realism of the game world. And the moment you allow the meme stuff to carve itself through the realism of the game world, then you're going to have problems. And they talk also about endgame content, which are raids in this video, which is supposedly endgame content. And I think it's a bad idea, because that further reinforces, I think, this suspicion I have that they're not going to focus on distant, unique custom locations. They're just going to create more raids. And if you complain as a player, they're not going to make the game more individual, more adventurous. They just give you more credits, more armor pieces to unlock or to find, and call it done. And that would move the game further into some classic MMO territory instead of being a space adventure. Because I think it was a conscious decision for them in 2019 to now that they basically skipped all custom-built locations that fit a certain planet to use highly recyclable locations like distribution centers. And as I said earlier, they're not doing that in Squadron 42. Like if you look at Squadron 42 and you look at the Aceto station, like every hallway is beautifully architecturally fitted into location. Every room is like unique. The architecture, like the padding on the wall, the thick airlocks. And that type of detail is possible in Star Citizen, because the geometry count doesn't really matter in a game like that, because you have LODs and any type of modern system to reduce it. And for example, if you look at this room, it looks actually like a really beautiful room, okay? So you have this huge combat space. Looks nice, but look at the lighting. The room has a lot of lamps, but almost no defined lighting where you can see something, which means this room was probably lit by a level artist who is not also working as a lighting, doesn't have much experience as a lighting artist. So my question is, why aren't the best lighting artists of Squadron 42 coming over to Star Citizen to make each room look amazing? My only answer I can come up with is that they're probably working on Squadron 42 still, or they're working on Squadron 42 sequel, which they won't announce yet, which I think they're working on. So the distribution center, the gameplay idea would be a great thing. You have different locations where you can go to and have amazing different gameplay opportunities. But then they got lazy and basically turned it into places where the entire places can be swapped to different locations. And what they should do is they should make every single distribution center its own unique place with unique architecture that exactly fits to the planet it's built on. So a distribution center built on a dune-like planet should look like flat and much thicker walls that can withstand sunstorms. A place that's on a more temperate area doesn't need as much concrete. The same for an Arctic planet or something. And the thing is that cities would actually have been much better distribution centers, because if you look at cities, it's basically developers trying to fix a problem that was caused by something else. What basically makes cities hard to play, or why players hate cities, is the tram systems. And the tram systems are actually not the fault, because it's a good thing that you have to take a tram to get into a city. It makes a city feel bigger. But the problem is, once you go into a city, you log out, you snap back to the hub, which means it's going to take you 15 to 20 minutes to get from the hub into space so you can at least log out again in another place than the city. Now imagine if you could just log out anywhere in the city, any hallway, in the bar, in the toilet, whatever, and you would just log in exactly where you were. Then players would have spent more time in cities the last 4 or 5 years, and the developers would have further developed cities. Which means they diagnosed the problem, which was, okay, players don't like to go to cities, so how do we get gameplay to players? That is sort of like city gameplay. So it basically took everything that's good about the city, took it out, and it just took the gameplay skeleton off a city and put it into distribution centers. And I think that's why there's such artificial theme parks instead of being real places. That, yeah, it just should be, distribution centers should have been cities with exact logout locations instead of what they are right now.